Hello and welcome to Azure All Stars, a show where we talk to community rock stars and highlight their journey into IT and their community involvement. I'm Luke,
And I'm Ahmed.
and we're your hosts for this podcast. So today we've got Sucheta, sorry, it's been a long day, who's here to talk to us really about the amazing work that she's been doing in the community and the world of IT. So, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. And well, first off, thank you, Ahmed and Luke, for having me. I'm definitely excited to be a part of your Azure All Stars series. Hey,
Thank you for
everyone.
joining us.
Sure. Hey, everyone. I am Sucheta Gawade. I work in the US. I manage an endpoint engineering team in a large healthcare organization in the US. I specialize in modern management and enterprise mobility. I leverage Azure and Endpoint Configuration Manager. Those are my core work areas within IT infrastructure. I am a 12 times Microsoft certified professional, and
Wow.
obviously, I love learning tech and I like sharing my knowledge within and outside the community.
That's great. So, thank you for sharing your knowledge with the community. So, can you explain a bit more about how you entered the world of tech and and healthcare and what kind of moments have influenced your career, I guess, at a very high level. But how do you get into tech?
So it's really like back in the day when everyone around me was opting for either medicine or engineering as a career path. I chose engineering because medicine never appealed to me. So engineering stood out as a great alternative. And I grew up in a city that was very well known for universities and engineering institutions. So I pursued an engineering degree. Also, there was an emergence of multinational organizations or corporations at the time around where I lived. So although it was tough, I did secure a job in tech, in IT, and my first job was with Dell. It was part of Dell Technologies, as we all know it. Um, and I really consider myself fortunate because I got some good hands-on learning on that first job. And not everyone gets a great breakthrough into tech right out of college or right
Yeah.
out of graduation, right? So I really find myself lucky from that standpoint. So yeah, I mean, in that first job, I actually started off working with Microsoft technologies. So we worked on the Microsoft Windows installer technology. We worked on virtualization, which was really booming at the time. So I was blessed to be learning the trends in tech. And from there, I changed jobs, gradually expanded my technical skill set into desktop engineering and endpoint management, which I currently do. And not all of my jobs were in healthcare, but the past few have been. So it's really
Yeah.
recently, in the past recent years that I have been working in healthcare or healthcare IT, and I definitely find it interesting. So I would probably want to stay in healthcare IT. So yeah, I mean, I did start off with that kind of an desktop engineering background, but then of late, the past few years, I've been working more into Azure because obviously cloud is the trend. It's been a journey so far, but it definitely has been fulfilling and technically enriching, I should say.
Yeah.
Nice, nice.
And healthcare is quite interesting industry because I've been in healthcare as well in New Zealand. It's actually one of the first real industries that gave me my heads up, like from the service desk through to infrastructure engineer, where I was doing server deployments with SCCM. But none, the jobs that I've been in, none have really, like, you feel like you're making a difference, right? In healthcare, do you have the same feeling?
Same feeling as in? Can you repeat the
As
question?
in just making a difference, like actually feeling the work that you do makes a difference,
Yes,
right?
oh yes, yes, because we touch lives, right? I mean, since the past few years that I've been working in healthcare, if there's a problem that comes off, and if we know that it's a patient affecting issue, then we jump on to solving it. So it definitely makes a difference. You feel fulfillment in job that you do because You're helping people get better indirectly. Obviously, not directly. We
Yeah.
are not doctors, but we do play a fruitful role into people's health. So, yes, I really like it, or like working in healthcare for that reason.
Nice, 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 nice. I love it. Thank you, Sucheta, for sharing your story. It is always, I like Luke said at one time, is that that's the most beautiful part of any guest that we meet, is that actually when they tell us about their story, how did they actually end up in the tech community, tech world, and the trend that I always see is that people always feel blessed to be part of this field. So that's really beautiful. What I wanted to ask you is about it's like there is no like a month or so, or like even less than that, without you doing something in the community. So like, so good on you. So I know that you've been part of like global Azure events, things like Data Saturday, community meetup in Columbus and Cleveland. You also like shared your experience in multiple community. So like, what drives you to actually contribute back to the community? And do you recommend people like engaging in those community events? And actually, do you even recommend people in the tech to learn how to do public speaking in a way? Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, when I started my first job, obviously I didn't know as much about community. I don't know if it even existed to the extent that it is today. But
Mm,
gradually, as I started to expand my skill set, learn different things, I obviously learned it from the community, right? Because people write
nice.
articles, they write blogs, and as part of my job, if I'm stuck into something, I would go look for an article to refer, right?
Sure.
So to see how people have solved problems and then to kind of replicate and try and use the same insights to solve the problems that I'm facing. So from
Right.
that standpoint, I would say it's all community. The work that the community has done out there is always has always been of help to me in my job. So that's one of the main
Nice.
reasons why I feel like I should be giving back. You know,
Wow.
I should be giving back not just to the people who have contributed to my technical skill set so far, but also to, help new people learn stuff. Because the way
Nice.
that I have learned, I kind of struggled during the beginning, right? But now, if we can make someone else's lives better by teaching them, providing insights, sharing knowledge, being available, mentoring,
Beautiful.
I would definitely want to do that. So I think those
Good
are
on
the
you.
major driving factors for why I am being involved so much into the community these days. Definitely want to give back, definitely want to share my knowledge. So yes, and I would recommend
Good on you.
others to, kind of do the same. People may not have as much time to contribute, but then whatever
Yeah.
little they can do, I think it only helps you grow because
Yeah.
it's mutual, right? You help the community helps you. So
That's right.
you, as I speak at different events, as I present, as I, try and give talks, I have to prepare for it. So when I prepare for it, I learn more about that topic. So it actually enriches your own expertise. So yes, I would
Sure.
definitely recommend that to people.
Nice. 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 Thank you.
So you touched a bit earlier on Ahmed's got his fireworks going.
The software apparently like really super.
Management, you're obviously quite clear on and work with Azure VM management and things like that. So you've made some pretty good contributions not only to the community but the Microsoft Learn documentation
Mhm.
as well. Could you tell us a bit more about what made you do that? Why, what kind of contributions you made to that platform?
Yeah, and I'm glad you asked that because not many people know that they can contribute to Microsoft's documentation. Um,
Yeah.
and it's fairly simple and easy to do that if you have good contributions to add. So when I first learned about Microsoft's documentation being open source, I was really excited because then I could voice my opinion. I could provide my insights if something I see is kind of incorrect or maybe logically doesn't make sense. And those could be accidental things in the documentation, which, something like a typo as small as that, to
Yep.
something that, technically doesn't sound right. So you may want to reach out to Microsoft to get that corrected. Or if you know how to
Nice.
correct it, you could. So as I work through my, daily day job, I refer to Microsoft documentation a lot because we are constantly implementing new technology and we are constantly upgrading stuff. So I mean, almost always I refer to Microsoft's documentation for different things. One of the major things that I refer to the documentation is Intune because I work hands-on in Intune all the time in devices. So as I have been reading through those documentations, I caught mistakes. Microsoft's documentation is definitely thorough and it's great. It's flawless for the most part, but there still
Yeah.
could be, small errors here and there, which I think we as the users or the people who are at the receiving end of the documentation should definitely provide feedback and get things corrected if there's a possibility, or if there's a chance for you to do that. So for some of the minor mistakes or minor, typos or logical corrections that I've seen in documentation, I have pull requests for that, in GitHub because it's open source. You can just create a pull request and commit, and if they do agree to your additions or corrections, additions, then they would merge your requests and get the documentation corrected. So
Nice.
for all of the things that I have contributed, my changes have been merged. I'm really
Got
happy
it.
about it because it's not just that you feel nice about making a contribution to a Microsoft document, but that document, if you go look at it, it also is going to show you as a contributor on there. So along with the existing contributors, your name will be added. So that's
Yes.
really rewarding. And that's why I kind of, whenever I read through documentation, if there's anything I see, which is rare for the most part, but if there's anything I see, then I don't miss the chance to get it corrected and get my name on that document. So I think that's what I like about it.
Nice. Nice.
I like that. The one of the like major contributions that I did for the MVP award was actually a Microsoft document contribution.
That's
So
amazing.
I think you're right. It's hidden behind a lot of people like I talk to day. They might moan about it, but they're the same people that's empowered by Microsoft to do that. If they struggle with the documentation, maybe it's not worded in the right way. Maybe it's not quite technically right because technology changes, right? You even look at the update to Enter ID with the naming of it from Azure Active Directory, right? Sometimes you catch those things and you need to update the documentation based on that. So it's community involvement. Like
Exactly.
the Microsoft ecosystem is huge, and yeah, it's trying to cater for all types of people reading it, and sometimes there's documents that are just too detailed. Like they need to be dumbed down to be able to understand it with the lack of context. So I really like the fact that you're contributing to that. Thank you.
Yeah. And with the
Nice. Nice.
plethora of documentation that Microsoft has out there, these minor things that we notice for changes is really nothing as compared to what effort they have to put in to create all that documentation. So I think it's natural for those minor mistakes to be there, which obviously I feel we are obliged, or it's our duty to get it corrected.
Agree.
Yeah,
Yeah, and the amount of people reading those
right.
documents, right? I mean, you could do a talk, and it might only have 30 people reading it, or you could edit a document that you've got thousands and thousands of people. So a minor change actually could make that much of a difference. So yeah,
Agree.
thank you.
Exactly. Yep.
Agree. Nice. Like you talk about a lot of technology, things like Microsoft Graph. You talk about Azure, I think Azure VM Management and Microsoft Intune. So, like, what technology do you feel there is, like, so if someone is like trying to break into the world of tech, try to like get inspired by the stories of like your story, the story of yourself or like or a guest. what do you, if people come your way and says like, what is a good technology for me to start with, and is there, for example, a reason that you like to talk about the Microsoft Graph or like the other technologies like Intune? Is it because you is it part of your work, or is it something that is interesting for you?
So that's a great question. And to answer that, I would say I I talk more about the tools, technologies, or products and services that I work on in my day-to-day job, because when I research those things for a talk, like I said, I learn better, so I can in turn do my job better. So
Nice.
Intune or even VMs management, IaaS, that was one of the talks that I gave, or
Yeah.
even Graph for that matter. These are all the different distinct areas within the cloud, which I have touched as part of my job. And when I have learned something about it, in trying to create a solution at my job, or in trying to, troubleshoot something, then I promptly go ahead and think about, should I be creating a blog about this so it can help someone else, or should I be giving a talk about this because this, it really took me a while to configure all this, maybe someone else can benefit from it. So those are good topic
Nice.
ideas for sessions and events, but at the same time, if there's a technology or tool area that I have not worked on, but I know that I am going to work on in future, or it's probably going to be a part of the tool set that I would bring into my organization, then I would
Nice.
proactively learn about it. And then, give a talk, and then obviously I'll be ready to implement it in my environment because now I know about it. So I think it's
Good
both
on you.
ways. Things that I have contributed towards in the community are things that I already work on, plus it is things that I potentially will be working on in the future. So it's a
Nice.
mix.
Nice. Good on you. Good on you.
So certifications, the good old Microsoft certifications. So you've got multiple certifications, which is really great. How do you keep up with the amount of certificate? Like 12 certifications is quite a huge amount across various Microsoft ecosystems and years. So, like nowadays we've got Server 2022. Back in the day, I think I'm Windows Server 2012 certified. Obviously, just how has studying for your certifications really helped you with your career or your knowledge about IT in general? Do you talk a bit more about that?
Yeah. And so I have I have certifications from Microsoft and related to Azure, and I do have certifications outside of the Microsoft realm, certifications like the CompTIA Security Plus or even PMP.
Nice.
But those certifications were something I did before I started hands-on work in the cloud. The moment I really started the one of the jobs, one of my earlier jobs in where I got to work into the cloud, that's where I started doing these Azure certifications. Obviously, for anyone starting out in Azure, the AZ fundamentals or the AZ 900 is recommended. I started out with that certification. So I kind of studied for the fundamentals of the cloud and then for that exam. And I found that it was really not expansive knowledge. So I wanted to go deeper into the cloud, learn
Yep.
different areas. But then I also wanted to not just go deeper into my work area for the certifications, but also have an overarching understanding or knowledge of Azure. So one of the things I did was I actually studied for and sat for almost all of the fundamental exams that we have as part of Azure, AI fundamentals, security fundamentals, M365
Okay.
fundamentals, all of them actually, except for the Dynamics 365 ones, because it's really unrelated to what I do. So
I don't blame you for that one.
that's true, right? But maybe there's some overlap, in between the Power Platform and that, or the data fundamentals and that. But I'll see. I'll probably do those certifications at some point, because I don't feel complete without doing all the fundamentals. But
Yeah.
Good on you.
but
Good on you.
yes, definitely wanted to have a good overall understanding of Azure, for which I did the fundamentals. And then I wanted to go deeper into areas that my work is in, endpoint management or M365 for that matter. So I also touched upon the Azure administrator expert, studied for that. It's more like overall administration of Azure is what you learn out of that. And then two of the main exams that I did were enterprise administrator, which is,
Yeah.
designing and managing M365 services. And then there's another one, which is the modern desktop administrator, which more aligns with optimizing, managing, and securing your devices on-prem and in the cloud. So those certifications I wanted to do because, like, when you study for a certification exam, it gives you a good path to follow, right? So you know that you've covered kind of the syllabus that you're supposed to be
Yeah.
traversing to gain that knowledge. So that's why I wanted to really do it in a formal way than just relying on my self-study. So I did those certification exams and got those certifications. So yeah, I feel keeping up with those certifications was challenging for sure. And I did all of those right in a span of 3 years. So there wasn't
Wow.
really a larger gap in between the certifications that I did. In a year, I tried to challenge myself to do at least 3 or 4. So every other
Yeah.
month, I would be studying for one or the other exam. So keeping up with those at that point was not as difficult, but now it is, because now I have to keep renewing them. So every other quarter, I have something to renew. With renewals, as we all know, it's important to study again because you are going to get questions on the latest that's out there with those
True.
technologies. So yeah,
Yeah.
now I think it's more challenging than it was when I actually sat for those exams.
Nice.
So, so it sounds like you've done a lot of self-study within your certificate journey,
Right.
which is really great, and I think it's definitely needed these days. Like technology changes too fast. You kind of need to do that. So, did you the resources that you used? Was it Microsoft Learn resources? Was it videos on YouTube? Was it Udemy courses? Like, how did you self study for all these exams, or did you just go and wake up and go, I'm going to go and take that exam?
No, I had to study, and studying was difficult as well because with most of these exams, except for the fundamentals ones, most of the role-based or specialty exams,
Yeah.
they test you and they have lab scenarios, those kind of questions, right, where you really have to know or you have to have done things to be able to answer correctly. I have my own lab, obviously, so I tried out things as I studied.
Hmm.
But my main study source was Microsoft Learn and the learning paths that Microsoft has for these different exams. I
Oh,
think they have really crafted it very well, gives you a very good
Yeah.
flow. It's organized, it's simplified. So, and I think it's more simplified off late, with smaller modules and smaller topic areas. So it made learning better, the learning experience was better. And at the same time, it's easy enough for you to understand or to follow along. So Microsoft Learn definitely is the main source, which I would actually recommend to anyone else who's looking to learn and who has not had any experience in the past. But at the same time, I would say again, the community content has helped me a lot. We do have people in the community who actually create courses on LinkedIn, but not just that, but they also have their own YouTube channels where they
Yeah.
they do a series of videos, right, for say Azure Virtual Desktop. I know Shabazz Dar is doing one recently. and I've been following
Right.
him of late just because I want to learn more about AVD. So, it really
Nice.
helps when people in the community do it, because then I know that I can rely on that material, because it's
Nice.
kind of legit material, because people know what they are doing, people know what they are talking about, people have the right experience, and that's why they are creating these videos. So yes, videos from the community have been very much helpful. At the same time, different blog posts, articles, Microsoft articles, the tech community articles, everything has helped. So my one of the things that I have, or one of my strategies has been not depending on one source, but actually trying to learn from different sources, because
Nice.
Yep.
the moment you flip your attention to a different source, the perspective totally changes.
Yep.
And you learn something new, or maybe you learn the same thing from a different angle, and that makes you memorize it better, or that helps you understand it better. So yeah,
Right.
those have kind of been my
And,
to go things or sources.
and that kind of that aligns with what you were talking about earlier about being very broad across, the entire Azure estate, right?
Completely.
You've gone not only do you
You
know,
might have lost Luke.
you've done these
Yeah, I think
certs
we lost
about
Luke.
Azure, data fundamentals, things like that, but you've gone, well, I'm going to learn A, and because of that, you're having a look at all these different angles as well. So you're broad across like the learning that one thing as well, which is great.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. So actually, as we come to the final question, so two things I wanted to ask you about. So like you mentioned something that if there is a technology or like a topic that you know that you'll be working on or you might to be working on, and then sometimes there are like these interesting topics. So what topic do you are you currently working on, or like a future topic that you think maybe it is something that I really want to focus on and maybe learn more about? And like what type of in general, what type of trend or like technology that you are really excited about, that you want to invest more time in learning more about?
Yeah, indeed. So I feel, like I touched upon, Azure Virtual Desktop is what I want to get into next. I really want to deep
Nice.
dive into it, to understand it
Nice.
better, to be able to implement it, and get to the crux of it. And so is what is Windows 365 Cloud PC. I'm
Oh,
actually I'm actually looking for that one as well, but I don't know how much time I would be able to spare. But I
nice.
think those are the next couple areas that I want to spend
Explore.
my time in. But then the second part of your question that actually makes me think. So we have everyone talking about AI, right? I don't really work in the AI realm at this point, but I find it really fascinating. I
Yep.
would, given a chance, if I do have that kind of time, I would want to invest into AI as well, try and
Nice.
learn the nuances there, because, yeah, just because everyone keeps talking about it, I really want to be a part of that conversation. And
Good on you.
obviously, because AI is the future. So if not now, sooner or later, I would have to learn AI anyway. So why,
Nice.
I would probably just start now. But again, I don't know. I think for now, I'm going to focus on the AVD and cloud PC side of it. And then potentially in the near future, I would start diving into AI.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yep.
Um, yeah, that was actually super cool. I really loved your story. I think there's a lot of value in our for our viewers here. Is that it's either like something you're working on and then you want to learn more about. It is either giving back to the community, which is really beautiful. So like you started saying, I learn from the community and I want to give back to the community. And I also really liked the way when when you said that when you are learning about a topic and then multiple people talk about it, each person actually brings their experience and knowledge. So like where they are comfortable with and where they are strong, they bring their point of view. So that actually helps give you experience in a way, because if you not worked on this technology, each one of them has actually brought the technology to you from a different perspective. So yeah, that's great. So good on you, Sucheta, and we really appreciate having you here at the show and sharing your story. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Yeah.
Sure, it's my
Thank you so
pleasure.
much.
Thanks again.
Thank
It
you.
has been great talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate your time and for the opportunity to talk to you. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Cheers.